When markets move, Stephen E. Orr takes the chair. From the White House to Wall Street, he's spent decades at the intersection of policy, markets, and real capital. And he's seen firsthand how institutions use data behind closed doors. Now, as founder of Quasar Markets, his mission is to pull those signals into the open so everyone can see what really moves the markets. This is Stephen E. Orr, BigBeat on Wall Street. Let's filter the future live.
Good morning. Happy 2026. Futures are up, tech's leading the way, but the big question is whether today is a real risk on or just one-day flows and thin liquidity. BigBeat, how was your New Year's?
Good. I think you and I just talked about a few seconds ago. I think we both just worked it. Look, we all knew it happened on Wednesday this week. It was just profit taking and tax selling, and I took advantage of it. Right, I bought more, and today they're putting that money right back to work. That just makes it look good on their balance sheets. We call that window dressing. So take advantage of it, and we did. And that's not because of charts. That's just because that's the way the market works. So you love it. Yep, I'm happy today. I'll tell you that much.
Absolutely. Markets are set to move to the upside, being led by tech, with NASDAQ up about a percentage point, S&P slated to open up 60 basis points, and the Dow Jones slated to open up 28 basis points. An advanced decline showing some nice breadth in the market at 28.78 to the upside. Gold and silver catching a bid, crypto catching a bid. Everything's going up. That doesn't set off any warning flags for you, Steve?
No, it's what I've been saying. Like, you had an opportunity to change your portfolio around. You did it last week. If you were smart and listen to us, I said Santa Claus is coming to town. He's coming to town. And here we are. Look, I understand that there was some selling, but that selling was some business selling.
Sure.
People had to pay taxes. And sometimes, and you saw that with silver. Why did silver get hit so hard? Because CME had to change their requirements. Well,
Twice.
Twice. That's not a technical indicator. That's just how the market works. And now you're going to see these big firms start to buy back in, and then they're all happy. And look at my ABGO up here, $6, $6.50 here, up 2%. So, I bought a lot of that on the Friday's close because I had a feeling that, the themes, question marks that haven't changed. It's all still the same, right? It's still AI, it's still tech, it's still energy, all of the things that we've said. And yeah, I think you're gonna have a heck of a day today.
Awesome. Hey, we got to start the show by saying goodbye to Mr. Buffett. He handed the reins over to Greg Abel. So congratulations, Warren. Enjoy your retirement. You have been probably the greatest trader of all time. There
were two people that I admired growing up in an investing world that I grew up in, and I've been here since for 34 years. This is my 35th year trading. And when I look at Peter Lynch and I look at Paul Tudor Jones, the mentors, I'm just flabbergasted by how awesome that they were at how they molded me for thesis trading and moving the needle for me, my understanding of how the mechanics of the market works. But Warren Buffett taught me patience and how to not go nuts and to stick to the game. And he was not only a person who taught me that, but that when things look dire is when you make movements. And he didn't just talk the talk, he walked the walk.
Oh, yeah.
In other words, he said, buy when there's blood in the street, right? I don't want to paraphrase, I know the exact phrasing. But when Shearson Lehman went down, when major companies went down, he didn't get freaked out. He stepped in with real money. And that
he was the buyer of last resort for a lot of different.
He was the buyer. And when the government had no place to go, they picked the phone up and they called Warren Buffett. Warren, what do we do?
Yeah.
There's not a person like that in the markets like that today that we have. We live in a world that our government yells and screams at our market makers. They yell and scream at the people that are managing big money. And we don't have that honesty that we've had in the past. We've had the Madoffs of the world and the FTXs. And to me, Warren Buffett is to be held up to a higher standard, that we stand, as my friend Tyler Woods always says, we stand on the shoulders of giants, and he was the biggest giant.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I read it this morning. Berkshire Hathaway stock is up 6.1 million% since he bought that company.
That's right. And for those of you who don't know, Warren Buffett did not start out by being Berkshire Hathaway. And over time, he bought several companies, especially in his beloved Omaha, Nebraska area, including the Furniture Mart that was there. He's still friends with a family there, and See's Candies. But it wasn't until Berkshire Hathaway, the company, actually went down. So he assumed control, bought the company, and he coined a lot of the words that we use today, like cigar butts and things of that nature. And he is a force of nature that we highly missed in this market.
Yeah. What do you think Berkshire's next identity looks like?
The identity right now, obviously, and Warren has said it for many years, that he does not buy things that he doesn't understand. But over time, he did buy things he didn't quite understand, like Apple. He did buy things because he was starting to release the reins to Greg Abel and Ankit Jain, who now run. Greg Abel now obviously is the CEO. And Howard Buffett, his son, and Peter, obviously, are right behind. So it's not like the family's not out there. They have, over the last 30 years, done a major shift to insurance, as we all know, Geico being a major player. I expect that to be the same, that theory of buy good companies cheap, as his dear friend Charlie Munger has said for many years. But the times have changed. He has changed. He's in his 92. And things have changed in how we live. We don't live by some of the things that he used to buy in the past. Some of these companies are actually gone. But when you look at what Ankit and Greg are looking at, they split the company in two. They still have a team in place that Warren has put in place, right? That Charlie and Warren has put in place. And they have grown up in the company of Berkshire Hathaway. So I don't think you're going to see a lot of changes. But I don't think there'll be major purchases like BYD when he made a buy into an India EV company. I don't think you're going to see major purchases like mergers and acquisitions anymore. He does have a cash pile that he has left this company in, an amazing cash pile to do that if they so choose. But I think they're going to make just more investments on, buy the dips kind of mentality as they push up. So that's what I think. I don't think as much change. And I'll tell you, to be honest with you, I think the stock goes right on up. I think we see $1 million price target on Berkshire Hathaway A.
Wow. Okay. They're sitting on roughly, as you said, 350 billion cash and short-term treasuries, only 283 billion in equities. So they are still very cash heavy. We'll see how that changes over the next 30 days through their statements and announcements and such. Steve, AI trade seems to be changing a little bit. It isn't so much about can we build it, it's can we power it and who's going to finance that powering. So Reuters noted that GE Verona expects huge gas turbine contracts as power demand from big tech data centers ramp up, delivers visibility towards a run towards 2029. Steve, do you have any favorite players on that side of the AI trade?
We talked about that, and I agree with you. It's energy, and it's those companies that are building. I just don't think that they're going to build as many of those big buildings that we've expected, right? I think that we're looking still at energy. We have an energy issue. I saw where DeSantis, governor of Florida, and Bernie Sanders are actually coming into agreement that they don't want these big AI headquarters. I think they're wrong. And I mentioned this on the show the other day that, we're going to figure the energy problem out. I mean, look, 56.83 a barrel right now for oil. Oil's cheap, but we need to get away from fossil fuels. We need to get back to the normal. We need to get back to electricity that's being built by solar. And I know there's problems, and people ask you, how do I fix this? Refineries. I've said this a million times. The administration needs to get off their duff and start working on refineries, and they haven't done that yet. So, but I think the key to oil is refineries.
Yep, you've been over that for years, quite honestly.
Yeah. Tesla just came out with their numbers, productions of their cars. I'll post that here, but they produced 434,358 vehicles and delivered 418,000 with 14.2 gigawatts deployed. 446.7 gigawatts. Whew, that's a lot of energy, my man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean it's it's a big one. You know, at what point do the hyperscalers face shareholder pressure to slow the capex down? Is some of the questions. You know, and is private markets going to quietly carry more of this than the big banks? Who's going to fund all this stuff, Steve? Banks are running out of money.
We just talked about it, right? Mr. Warren Buffett has a cash pile. Apple has a cash pile. Microsoft has a cash pile. They're the ones that need the energy. Guess what? They should be the ones buying it. And they should be the ones supplying the help, right? They've got all this money from everybody else. Well, you know what? Put that money to work and start buying energy. Energy is the key to everything. Battery storage, and Tesla has just now gone from just now talking about how many cars they delivered to how much gigawatts that they're deploying as well. That might be a number that we start seeing in some of these big factories and big companies.
Right. Absolutely. Steve, getting over to metals, you mentioned it. Gold and silver are still acting like the market's lie detector for debt, geopolitics, and inflation hedging. Silver is especially behaving like something I've never seen before, a momentum instrument. CME margin changes matter. Obviously, as you mentioned, they did it twice. It can force liquidation. Margin is the price of admission to the market. Do you think that they're going to see more of an unwind on that trade, or are we going to see it continue up for the first quarter of the year?
No, it's unwind. Most definitely an unwind. There's a lot of unwinding going to happen, but a lot of that unwinding has already happened, but we're going to see more of it, I think. Yeah.
Okay. We are about 15 minutes from the open. Advanced decline almost up at 3,000. So we are definitely seeing breadth in the market today. Sectors of the S&P, again, technology leading the way up 1.17%. We do see a nice little run so far by consumer discretionary also. So those are the markets leading the way so far today. Energy actually in the negative, and consumer staples in the negative. So that's what we're looking at so far. Steve, what are you watching for this morning?
AVGO. I'm happy about my Broadcom this morning. I mean, I was very, very big in Broadcom. I mentioned it again on the show here the other day that I was going to buy some more, and I did. And it looks like I'm going to get paid out quite nicely this morning. So I'll tell you, another thing you look at is the VIX, the volatility index, seems to be dropping again. So the selling that we saw is pretty much over. I'm excited about that.
Absolutely. Steve, I know you were talking Bitcoin earlier with me. You think we're going back up over 100 here, huh?
I do, yeah. I think it's going to take about a few weeks, but I think we make a big push here. A lot of firms are looking to do that. Look, the Dixie now at 98.44. This last year was the biggest sell-off in decades on the dollar. And in even doing so, looking at that, even doing so, Japan still at 157. So there's some problems around the world, and those problems, you're seeing Iran protests, you're seeing problems in China, problems in Taiwan, problems everywhere. Guess what? They're not going to turn to their own currency. Or the rial in Iran has literally crashed. And the people there are going to turn to alternative currency, and that's going to be Bitcoin.
Okay, absolutely could be. Bitcoin back above 89,000 here, struggling to stay above that level. Ethereum, though, nicely broke above 30.40. Nice little short squeeze there. Look for a little bit of a run there. But both still have a lot of pressure above them. Steve mentioned oil and gas down still. Steve, I heard you had some commodity talk you wanted to bring up this morning.
Yes, I am working on my new thesis, and that is very simple. OJ, orange juice. There are several reasons why I like orange juice, and it's just a longer-term pick. It's a yearly. So I am telling people look at longer-term leaps, look at longer-term contracts farther out. And they're not leaps and options, obviously, but think of it like that. There's a few reasons. Number one is one of the major producers of OJ is Brazil, and we have a lot of issues in Brazil right now with exports. The second thing that I have a problem with is freeze. It's got cold here in Florida. You see me wearing a sweater. Did we get a frost? Yes. Over the last few days, yes. Is that enough to kill the trees? No. But we've had a massive freeze a couple years ago. And the greening, HBL, is a disease that has hit some of the Florida and a lot of the Brazilian plants. The question I have to ask is, do people still drink orange juice the way that they used to drink orange juice? And they don't drink alcohol as much, right? So are they still drinking champagne? So that orange juice and champagne question mark is a big question mark. So supply down, demand down, it keeps the price deflated. But if we do go back to fancy drinks and we do see this frost thing going on, could be a big issue here. So OJ, and if you look at technically, OJ has taken a big wallop over the last 6 months. So all those things pretend to me that the price is way out of whack. You pull up a monthly chart there on OJ. FCOJ should help you. I don't know if it's
which one do you want?
You can probably look at just any of the you just go to futures. There you go. Yeah, you can see it already turning. I started buying already. I'm happy about my turn here a little bit, but if you pull up a monthly chart, you should see my thought process if you can trade futures. Yeah. There you go. Technically, fundamentally, thesis, all of it's wrapping up to be a good play here in OJ. And I have already mentioned this to a lot of TV organizations already that are mentioning this now, starting to mention it now too, but they didn't really see this. So this is really telling you the story. If you play it, you'll probably get. Now, this isn't the mean reversion story, right? OJ doesn't go back to the mean reversion is because it's technically out of whack. It's not what it does. It's working. Yeah. So.
Nice. Love it there. So we got Steve's commodity pick for the year already on day one. OJ, keep your eye there. Pre-market movers this morning, like we said, definitely favors the green versus the red. Seeing some of the Chinese names, Baidu up about 10.42% on news of their spinoff of their AI chip company. You a buyer in any of these Chinese names today, Steve?
No. I'll be honest with you. I've had long chats with some of my back channel geopolitical issues. China will probably invade Taiwan within the year, if not soon. I mean, it's really getting bad. The chatter is really high. I've not seen chatter this high. I don't want to have anything to do with China right now, and I think that they are shutting the Americans out, especially Trump. I know that Xi Jinping has a meeting today with Trump. Today at 5:30 p.m. So be careful there. If you have silver on your plate, if they come out saying nice things about each other, silver prices could crash. Export issues could become an issue. So be careful out there. But no, I don't think so. I think Taiwan and China is really picking up, and I don't want anything to do with Chinese stocks right now.
There you go. The other big leader that is not Chinese is ASML. So overseas leading the market today, quite honestly. ASML up about 6.06. Steve, you've been a shorter of some of these chip stocks. You shorting this one today?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm happy where I'm at right now.
Okay.
I just looked at my numbers. I just looked at my numbers of shorting Tesla all year long. It's been an absolute moneymaker for me. I mean, it's one of my biggest things. What keeps shorting Tesla, right? Yeah. And Tesla keeps pushing up. It's very simple. Every time Tesla pushes up, profit taking happens, right? That's when you see a lot of retail in it, and I'm taking advantage of the retail. So, yeah, I'm sticking to that thesis, right? When silly things move up for no reason, take advantage of it. So I did. I have. Yeah. We got about 8 minutes now. Okay, let's go.
Yep. And then the other leaders into the clubhouse this morning so far are the data center crypto mining companies led by Hut 8, IREN, TerraWolf, and others. Clean Spark, one of the ones you're a fan of, and your flies moving back up here, up about 2.82%. On the laggards, not really a lot there. The biggest one, Progressive, believe it or not, down about 5.85%. And then you've got some of those consumer staples like Keurig Dr. Pepper in there, Berkshire down 1/4 point, ExxonMobil, and your favorite Disney down a little bit. But that's about it for the laggards here, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a quiet session today. I mean, I don't expect a lot of. I mean, a lot of the move happened overnight as the big boys got in and laughed. You know, we sold on you, and now we're buying back on you, right? It's just look. I always say retail will win a battle, but they'll never win a war, and that's what happened again. And that's nothing to do with your charts, nothing to do with. It's just the way that the market structure happens, right? CME, a good example of that, raising the margin requirements on silver, on commodities. That's just how it works, right? And retail got crushed on silver over the last few days. They're trying to buy back. Could happen again, right? If Trump comes out with China and says, hey, we got a deal. Well, that's going to hurt.
Wasn't that more the banks? I mean, everything I read was the banks were on the wrong side of that silver trade.
They were totally on the wrong side of that trade. They're trying to get out of it, right? CME helped them out. But at the same time, that's part of it, right? I mean, it's part of the structure, and the banks are the ones who supply the cash of the merger. I mean, for the margin. So, maybe that if they were on the wrong side, banks being short silver I don't think was the key. I think it was that the margin of some companies were short silver and they were wrong, right? So that's what happened, and they had to raise the margin requirements for obvious reasons.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When volatility picks up, they definitely do that pretty quickly here. Mag 7 all slated to open up in the green so far. Tesla, the leader so far, up about 1.35%. NVIDIA, 1.25. The rest all about up 0.5 percentage point so far this morning. So any of those you're watching for 2026 as, a leader? Which is your Mag 7 pick for this year, Steve?
My Mag 7 pick is probably going to be a boring one, but Amazon. Yeah, I mean, people are still buying Amazon products. I know I still am. I don't think anybody here has stopped buying from Amazon. I think Amazon is going to continue to win. I'll tell you what's interesting for me is Meta. And I'll tell you something else that I think is very interesting is Apple. Apple and their new product with their new glasses could be a game changer, Howard. That to me is very, 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 very interesting. I do like that play there. I'm seeing AVGO popping a little bit here. I don't know. I really do like this Apple move. And how much of an Apple product I did not like for decades. I think, and I've said this last year, and I bought the products finally and I think Apple has finally done it. And I think Tim Cook steps down. Those are a big, big play for me. Amazon and Apple play nice. Amazon and Google playing nice together now with their cloud. I think that these are the big companies that I like. Microsoft, maybe not so much. Let's see how they do with their gaming on their cloud gaming. I'm not happy with that because they keep talking about their Xbox are going to get rid of it and go straight to cloud gaming. I like the cloud gaming because I can play on anything I want, but it's not the same as having a box in your house. So I don't know, but I do like the Apple move here with the glasses. And I've said this all along that wearables are the key, and Apple really has a game-changing machine that we're looking at now with glasses that be part of your Apple ecosystem. That will really, really change the game for me. That's what I'll like, because we're not seeing that from Microsoft. We're not seeing that from Facebook. Facebook's Meta's using Oakley's and making their own thing. So, we've always said Apple does not innovate, but Apple makes what's good better. So I do like that aspect.
Yeah. Talk about a foldable phone too this fall. So We'll see if they go that way or not. Personally, I'm on a Meta run. I think Meta makes a run.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. I like it.
Yeah.
But then I liked it at under 100. So,
Yep. Yeah. And Netflix at 93.76, like you said, at some point there's just a lot of uncertainty around that. Could play out all year with the Warner Brothers. Here we go. We are getting ready to open, and the market is taking a little bit of a breather right now as we get set to open. Bitcoin back below 89 here. NASDAQ's taking a little bit of a downturn right before the cash open. Let's see what we get. I know we got Mr. Flanagan coming in a few minutes. He'll tell us what's going on. DXY breaking back above 98 nicely gives us.
And I have to ask you, Howard, MSTR, you know, they're going to really write off a lot of the huge multi-billion-dollar loss there this year. When does MSTR become a buy?
That's a tougher one because of January 15th when they have their MCSI decision coming out. If you want to take a risk YOLO, they'd probably play right now. It's about as beaten up as it comes. I'd say at the 50-day MA, right around that 134 is where I'd be looking for it. But they, you know, that's going to be the big thing. But I do like it. It's trading it under the asset value of Bitcoin. So that they hold. So I do like it. It's a tough one. It's a hold your nose and buy, but like you said, sometimes that's some of the best reward.
Looks like
28, 2 minutes before the open here.
AVGO here in the highs of the early morning session here. Man, I'm really happy about AVGO.
Nice.
Super happy about it. Yeah, there it is. High of the session there. Let's see what the cash market does here in about looks like a minute.
Yeah.
I do think we need to keep our eye on Tesla though too as well, especially with those numbers coming out. Tesla up about 2% as well, but I don't think that's a. I think you might see us some selling there on that. Yeah, 352.85 now. $88. Yeah. We might erase almost all the losses from yesterday in the markets, or from last week, the last four sessions, because they've been very muted.
Yeah, very muted drop. Has not been big.
And I think the buyers are coming back in here. All right, we're almost open here. I'm gonna. I think 94, 93.
We are open.
Yeah, most definitely.
Here we go, GLD and SoFi. Nice. Here we go. Let's run, baby.
Oh shit.
Okay. Advanced decline jumped up to 3,900 on the open there. Your AVGO jumped up another almost half percentage point here, 2.14% to the upside here. Seen NVIDIA top out at 190, getting a little top heavy here. So we do see the first pause of the day so far, but a nice move to the upside. Tesla up 1.7% also. Google now up 2.13. That really shot up on the open there. So nice little move. Tesla 1.5% to the upside here.
Yes, I'm definitely 355 there on Broadcom. So for those of
Nicely
you who
done.
followed me in to Broadcom, congratulations. You should be very, 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 very happy again. And look at that, 1 for 1 already, Howard, in the trades already.
I love it.
I bought that. Let's see. I have to look again exactly what I bought it back on. Let's see. Yes, I bought it at 347.05 and I dumped it at 355. So oh, look at that dump now in AVGO. Yeah. So congratulations everybody out there that listening in. Heck of a morning here. Heck of a morning.
Yeah.
Heck of a job, Brownie. Heck of a job, Brownie. Yeah.
I'm gonna keep. I'm holding mine.
I think it could push on up. I do like core weave, as I talked about core weave the other day.
I'm gonna let it run through the day. I do think we're gonna see an up day, like you mentioned. I think we'll see it through the day.
But there is going to be some profit taking. I mean, Bitcoin getting smacked here a little bit, you know.
Yeah, like I said, that was all derivative led. So what the derivatives give, they taketh away, without a doubt. We are seeing some accumulation by whales, which is the right sign, but just apathy. There's not enough volume. Got to change that on a bigger structure. We do see we're starting to get a negative tick here. We are seeing us take a little bit of a step back after that first move to the upside. We actually see the NASDAQ down a little bit since the cash open. Same thing in the S&P, down slightly after its first move to the upside.
AVGO pushing again here, up 2.6.
Yeah, there's still some meat on that bone.
Yeah, maybe.
NVIDIA up 2.4%. That's the one I'm getting close to maybe taking some profit on here. That's up like 12% for me here.
356.12 there on Broadcom. Ouch.
Yeah. Like I said, it's got chips are going to run today. Based on what I saw overseas and ASML. Look at ASML up 7.7% now.
NVIDIA is up 2.5%.
Yeah. TSM up 3.6%.
Dang, AVG up now up $10 here.
Yeah.
I am a happy camper, though. I'm okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Man, may make another high here. The high's of the day now on AVGO.
Yeah. Watching.
ZSL is down 8%, 7.5% here. That is silver, but it is pushing back up. So be careful. Silver could dump here. Tesla's dumping. As I said earlier, I thought that was another good short. I did miss that because of the AVGO move. Intel's up 4.5% this morning. So I want to say thank you for everybody that are watching us, making us one of the best shows out there. Most watched now, looks like. Looking at the numbers right now, live on X right now. We are in the financial space. the most watched right now this morning. So I want to say thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Repost that, refresh it, like us out there on Twitter for sure.
Okay, NASDAQ back up almost 1 percentage point here. So seeing some buying on tech come for sure. If we look at the sectors of the S&P, it isn't the breadth we saw to start off with. This is really a tech-led rally. It's up 1.43%. Otherwise, all the other sectors are fairly neutral. You've got consumer discretionary up slightly, industrial up slightly, utilities up slightly. No real huge laggards either. Healthcare is down about 64 basis points, and financials are getting hit a little bit here.
Hello, Mr. Bitcoin, right back up, I guess. Ripple back to 189 now, 190 here almost. I think the movement at AVGO is about overcooked here for this morning, so be careful out there. Put in a limit order. Move those stops up, folks. If you're not like me, I went pretty heavy, went very heavy, as everybody knows. But move those stops up.
Yep.
Make sure you lock in that profit. Netflix at 92.54 now. Interestingly enough, watching the new. It's a sad day, Howard. Stranger Things has now ended here, so
I never watched that one.
I think you'd like it. If you like, it's definitely an interesting show. 89,000 now back on Bitcoin there. Man, what a day in the markets today. Yeah, here comes AVG in the back, man. Be careful out there, folks. Could just dump here.
It's pretty steady, 1491. So no real movement there. That's good to see. Natural gas down about almost 4% here today. WTI back down below 57 again.
Yeah, here comes the AVGO selling there. Spot gold coming down, as I said earlier. My silver is not on my radar right now. I'm taking it off my charts because now it's just a play now, and they're playing around with it. Qs could slip a little bit here. 10-year now 4.171. We saw a massive move to the lowering rates on homeowners, but right back up, man. It's like, yeah, there's not much of a movement there. Google up 2.2% here. Boeing down a little bit here. Well, Caribbean now back in the green here.
See a mixed bag. See Microsoft, Meta, and Netflix negative. Netflix down about 1.58% here. So seeing some sell-off to start.
Well, looks like if they let them take it, they might get the Warner Brothers here. That not to pay for that, right? Whereas they're now going to ignore Paramount's bid now, mainly saying they didn't have the money.
ASML up 8.19% here, continuing to move to the upside. Berkshire Hathaway down at 1% since Mr. Buffett stepped down, 1.04% here.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a smart move. People selling Berkshires because he's the Oracle of Omaha has left. I think that's
nice move up by Constellation Energy here on the cash open, up 4.5%.
AVGO pushing right back up.
Intel, as you mentioned, up 4.7% here, continuing to move to the upside. Financials still under a little bit of pressure today. JP Morgan down about 15 basis points.
Yeah, silver pulling back here. I bet you ZSL, yeah, coming right back up.
Micron, nice jump up today, 6.6%, trading close to highs of the day.
NASDAQ having the best day of the year.
Boo.
Oh, come on, Howard.
Progressive continue to move to the downside, now down 7.32% there.
Yeah, Bitcoin 89.3 now. ABGO near the highs. There it is, high of the day on ABGO. Wow. That's institutional buying there, Howard. That short's covering AMD now at almost 5% here.
Yeah,
that
is just going crazy.
Yeah, that's institutional buying.
Micron 7.27%, STM up 6.73%, Marvell up 4%, Clack up 4.79%, chip sector flying here. AMAT up 5.18%, ARM up 5%. Chips are definitely going to run here. Led by ASML.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day in the NASDAQ today.
It is. Continuing to go to the upside on ASML. Same thing. AVGO just broke 358.
Yeah. I mean, I liked it. I liked it last week. I've been liking this a lot. I think it goes right back up.
Yeah. I'm actually waiting for a bigger play all the way up to fill the gap.
I think 361 here could go if you're going to gap it. But for me, obviously, AVGO was interesting last week, and I on the run up I sold it, and on the run down I bought back and I sold it again. So I have definitely done well here on AVGO. And you know what? I have a meeting at 10 o'clock, so we see our boy Steve Flanagan. The new year is here. Let's bring that boy in.
How we doing, Steve?
Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year to you, sir.
All right, let's get to it, Steve Flanagan. I got to ask. I mean, it's a new year. How do traders, institutional investors like yourselves, people that have worked the real floors, how do they look at the first year of the year, when the first day of the year, first trading day of the year? How do they look at that? The old adage that is always stuck with me is how goes January goes the rest of the year. So talk to me a little bit about that old adage.
Yeah, two things. First of all, you know, when you sit in the first trading day of the year, it's essentially consider yourself at a track meet and you're getting ready for the gun to start to trading. And when you look left and right, every single person in the financial markets is in the starting blocks with a P&L of 0. And that's how we start the year. So it's go. And hence, look at the move you're seeing today. What I always worry about, and it's worked almost every year, is the first move that you see in the new year, the first 3 weeks, we spend the rest of the first quarter trying to get out of that trade. Now, this year, though, I'm looking forward. I'm going to say it's different. And I'll tell you why is it different. Because I cannot really recall a November and December like we've just come through. In other words, the dump trucks are all empty. Everybody has dumped off of whatever they needed to sell, margin calls, etc. This year around, it's the first 3 weeks, I would be cautious. You're going to probably see a lot of FOMO trading.
Yep.
I really want to see how the month of January ends. So
Yep.
I do think we come out sharp and aggressive as we're seeing today. But I'd be very worried about, how long lasting that poof is, unless the data begins to support. We don't have the Fed until the end of January.
Right.
So there's going to be a lot of speculation. Personally, they're not going to touch rates in January. That's my call, because I think the horse trading that went on in December was, all right, we'll cut 0.25%, but we promise to hold, provided all the numbers stay just the way they are. And I think that that's the way the Fed probably has made the cut in December with a hold in January.
Okay.
So, and there's no numbers out until the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week. So you've got a little pocket of air here where a lot of momentum type trading can occur, which I think we're beginning to see today.
Yep, market strong to start off with so far. What are you watching across the forex markets to start the year, Steve?
Dollar index 98.45, up off the floor. I still hold the line in the sand at 97.20.
Yeah.
97.70 was recent lows around that level. Watch the top side. A 98.90 is the break point that begins to get some movement on the top. I'm not looking for the dollar to come out of the gates and, in a sharp manner like equities. But I am looking for the dollar to create this basing pattern that we're in. I'm watching the euro dollar very carefully. On, I think, Wednesday next week, we have CPI in the Eurozone. And, that probably comes in at 2.1%.
Okay.
Now, if a surprise is that it's lower, the quandrum here is, what does the ECB do saying, hey, we're at 2%, we've done everything. There is no growth, anemic growth. Okay, I'll give it to my friends who keep saying, come on, Europe's growing. All right, they're growing at 0.2, 0.3. Yeah. Germany was minus 0.5.
That's
though.
Not really growth yet, right?
Oh, right. So does it come in lower? Followed by Thursday, I believe China's CPI comes in. Now that's coming on the heels of a minus 2.2%. So what happens? By end of next week, we could be sitting here looking, and the U.S. will have inflation numbers and December payrolls. You could be sitting here looking at a point, which is my thesis, inflation, poof, it's gone.
Come on. There's always inflation, Steve.
Always inflation, but if we begin to look at the last year, because now, as we roll into this year, you're all going to say, well, Trump has been in the last year. But what has inflation? The 9% we saw in 23, 24, that's baked in. And we're getting used to those rises right now. The key is, where is it going? If we're growing at 0.1, 0.2 a month, this is very sustainable. You cannot have interest rates in restrictive zones when your inflation is benign. And that's where I think we'll see benign inflation.
Bitcoin now at 90,000 here. Okay, so let's break this down a bit. And I have questions for you, especially on the forex side of things. Dixie now 98.38. Yet the euro is still holding at 157 roughly. How the hell is that happening?
Yeah, euro at 117.20.
I'm sorry. Did I say the euro? I meant the yen. I'm sorry. Yen at 157. Sorry about that.
Here we go. Now the curveball's coming.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's good. Steve, dollar yen, we just raised rates. I thought Japan was going to, right? And they've got the first one. They're the first ones up. They come up on Jan 23. They're at 0.75. The problem is BOJ raised to 0.75, highest rate in 20 years or more, and they did not give any forward guidance.
Right. Why is that?
Because that's just the Japanese way of doing things. They want their neutral.
Oh, we have a new prime minister there. I thought things were going to change over there.
New prime minister who wants growth, growth, growth.
Right.
You can't have growth if you suddenly start punching Japanese interest rates up.
What's changed? What's changed, Steve? I mean, she says she's a lot like Trump, and then she's a conservative, right? And then what's changed? I don't understand.
Nothing's changed. Your Bank of Japan, though, cannot. They're in uncharted territory once they go up above 0.75.
Right.
And if they start moving fast and destabilize, now remember, my big caveat for 2026 is the yen could destabilize the entire financial markets. If Japan goes on a hike and they say the neutral rate is 1% higher. If they were to go like that, the Japanese government owns over 55% of the JGB, the Japanese bond market. They own it, they hold it, and they're still doing QE in Japan. So you cannot have a Bank of Japan suddenly go out and destabilize the Japanese economy, because it'll have ripple effects throughout the world.
But they are.
They pretty much telegraphed the 0.25 increase. They're still at 0.75, pretty much the lowest in the industrialized world outside of Switzerland, if we call that an industrialized world currency, but Switzerland's at 0. But I don't really think Bank of Japan goes again. I think what they'll do is they'll assess the situation, and that the follow-up meeting, I think we could probably expect rates to go to 1%.
Okay.
The
Which
one
is kind of crazy. I mean, but the thing about rates for us is that it's buying cars, it's buying homes, it's building, it's creating. Japan doesn't really build new homes, right? They're not building new condominiums over there. They're not really building new business buildings. I don't think that raising rates is really hurting them, is it?
I think what it would hurt, Steve, is the international global world that has used yen as a carry trade for the last 25 years.
And the unwind is coming, right?
I think you've seen a lot of the unwind in the previous run-up to the rate increase.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about the carry trade so much.
Okay.
It's more if the Bank of Japan signals an aggressive rate hike policy, that could change a lot of the investment in the world's books. And that's what I'd be worried about. And the U.S., is a prime area where Japan has exported capital to invest within the United States. So,
and I have bought heavily into the mutual funds and ETFs of Japan. I think I think Japan's going to do quite well in the next 4 years.
I think Japan should do quite well. That's why I don't see Japan destabilizing the effect by rushing to raise interest rates.
And the reason we use the dollars is because of oil. And right now, oil WTI, the West Texas Intermediate, now sitting at spot month 56.69 a barrel, Steve.
Yep, priced in dollars, and that means that's a massive stimulus to the global economy.
Yeah.
Especially as the dollar has, had one of its worst years since 2017, and beyond that, for 20 years, one of the worst years it's had. And of course, that keeps the oil prices even cheaper for those having to use dollars to buy it. And that's a huge stimulus. However, part of my quantum convergence thesis out into 26, into 27, is that there'll be a new dollar substitute for oil, and that'll be AI and tech, where everybody needs to be into the dollar as that tech explosion really starts to take hold.
All right. I got okay. Let's unpack that quantum convergence. For those of you out there, we're at 3,000 viewers. Appreciate that. For those of you who don't know, Steve has coined the term quantum convergence. And I've asked him to do that back in the summer and fall of last year as we come through this time. And now here we are. It's happening. Okay. But Steve, when you talk about this change, you're seeing manufacturing. The president wants manufacturing. Manufacturing numbers just came out lower again. Dollar slipping again. Oil slipping again. Are we seeing that convergence? First of all, explain what you mean by quantum convergence for those of you, because we have a lot of new viewers today. Explain that, and then we actually seeing it?
All right, it's long drawn out. So here's the nutshell version of that. Technology. Everything is based on technology. The expansion of technology, the rapidness at which it's growing and integrating itself within. Who doesn't use an AI source right now to play around with or actually do research? People are now using Grok and they're using the others all to actually say, hey, what about this stock? Can you tell me? You get instantaneous. As this becomes more and more prevalent within, that's just a tip of the iceberg as to what about biomed, medication? What about finding cures? What about a Neuralink? Look at that, successful patients and more things.
Right.
Think about now the additional aspect of quantum computing. We already know that there's a few companies out there that are actually getting into production things. What about when the investment firms, and don't think that they're not already using quantum to make decisions in investing, what about when we begin to think about, here's a big caveat that I'll throw out there, the world in 24, in the end of 24, moved to a T+1 settlement of stocks, meaning that you buy and sell and you have your money within 1 day. In the currency worlds, that used to be 2 days,
Right.
not up
Right.
until the end of 24. What about when that moves on blockchain, which we know our administration in the US is pushing frantically? We're actually going to have legislation shortly, right? What about when we get blockchain at the base of transactions where it is instantaneous? Now, what do I mean by that? Look, what about if you're a company in Europe and you have a euro position and a sterling position, but you're a US based company, and I want to put my money that I've made over in England and in Europe back into my United States. So I sell sterling and I sell euros and I buy my dollars. But it used to take 2 days. Now it takes 1 day. Think about that, though, in a slow motion, microscopic view. I'm waiting for my money to come in. I need that money in my account before I can go out and put it into other things that I have planned on. Now view a world where it's zero, the T+0, or as I call it, atomic. I sell, it's instantly in my account, and I'm moving on. Today, computers monitor everything. Models, it's perpetual motion. That's why stocks never go quiet. Currencies never go quiet. There's always trading because it is computers that are using the currency as the fulcrum under a seesaw in their global portfolios. And there's constant trading. Now go to a T+0, throw in quantum computing, the world gets a massive accelerator to economic growth in the world because money is now moving. And I'm talking.
And who benefits the most out of this movement here?
Initially, of course, it's corporates. Initially, it's hedge funds because they'll be the ones. However, it goes right down to each and every one of us because we are all the benefit. We all stand to gain off of this improved productivity throughout the world. So we're talking about, I don't know, 10, 15, pick a number, trillion in stimulus throughout the world just based on a future that begins to move to it. Is it in the plans right now? It's being worked on. It is not something that would be coming out in in a short term, but the blockchain technology is something we know that is being pushed very heavily by the administration. So when that does begin to come, these are the benefits that everybody will bring. Quantum, throw in quantum convergence, and that's another integral part, but throw in Starlink is almost now fully up and running, and I believe it should be by early 26, where every single corner of the globe will have the availability of internet. And I just, like to theorize how many Einsteins are yet to be discovered out there.
Right.
You know,
But
and how
it's great to discover nice time. If we can't bring him in the country, then what's the problem?
you don't have to bring them in the country anymore, Steve, because you'll have the ability, the tools that are available to those Harvard and elites. They will.
Okay, so is that what you're saying, that we'll still try to bring them in, but we won't bring them into the country physically?
Well, if you want to bring in somebody who is highly, who would meet these conditions where they're very bright, they're productive, and that a company wants them because they perhaps cannot find that in our workforce here in the United States, there's easy ways that companies do that. They may pay a price for it. I think, what do they call that? The gold thing that the
Golden visa.
yeah. But I mean, there are ways around it all.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of golden visa. I do need to run, Howard. If you guys want to continue the conversation, but I do need to run for the meeting. But Steve,
Okay.
it's going to be a good day and a good start of the good year here, I think, right?
I think it's going to be a great year. And hey, make sure we're watching space, because space is where a tremendous amount of things are going to be happening, starting with the Pandora, a planet hunter that gets launched in January.
Woo.
And India is going into space too in January. So
hell, I want to go too, man. I want to go to space. I'm gonna call up Jeff Bezos and get a chance. Okay, boys, I'll see you guys on
You
Monday.
guys have for Quasar Markets. Well, wait, go ahead, Steve, or you get out of here. I'll finish up with Mr. Flanagan. Mr. Flanagan, what are your final things you're watching over the weekend here, sir?
well, you know, it's funny because you're going to jump in on a Friday here for the beginning of the year, but then you've got weekend risk. So I think the real move will happen next week. We have a lot of data coming out Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. You know, I think people will have a lot to digest. I, as an investor, want to be a slow burner. I don't want to jump into the market, but the way it's moving highlights the one key, and that is everybody has emptied their pockets out in November and December of 25. And that is a key ingredient and a new ingredient that I'm having a little bit of difficulty, you know, in my analysis right now. But I am of Steve's opinion, the Santa Claus rally does continue into January here.
Absolutely. I'm with you there on that same philosophy. Dow is down slightly here. Tech is leading the way like it did last year. Software companies, though, a little bit under pressure today. For Quasar Markets, everybody have a great start to your new year, and we'll see you bright and early on Monday morning.